God's divine surprise revealed, 3 miraculous messages for your heavenly deliverance today. In the heart of a quaint English village, where history whispered through the ancient chapels and community bonds pulsed vibrant, the air crackled with expectancy. Rumors of divine encounters swirled like autumn leaves, thick with the fragrance of burning candles and prayers. It was here that Sarah, a devoted mother, wrestled not only with her daily role as a teacher but with a burden heavier than most could imagine, the precious life of her son, Michael, teetering on the edge of darkness due to a terminal illness. With a chorus of fervent prayers rising to the skies, St. Jude, beloved saint of impossible causes, became their guiding light. The townsfolk prayed with raw sincerity, evening gatherings echoing with hopeful voices, "O St. Jude, deliver us." Yet, beneath this steadfast devotion, a flicker of doubt began to creep into the corners of their hearts. One fateful evening, a visiting pastor stood at the pulpit, his voice a splendid beacon cutting through the heavy air. A divine surprise is on the horizon, he proclaimed, igniting flames of hope in Sarah's heart once more. She gathered family and friends for an intimate prayer meeting, weaving through their shared tales of yearning and faith, but still, a nagging skepticism wove itself through the fabric of their community. As the days wore on, Michael's condition worsened, a cruel reminder of life's fragility. Sarah stood at a crossroad, holding on to the fragile glimmer of medical interventions while her heart beat in rhythm with her faith. Then came the shattering moment. Treatments failed, leaving her in a tumult of despair. On a stormy night, she found herself, alone, at the foot of the altar, tears streaming down her cheeks as she pleaded for a miracle with a fervor she had never known. Suddenly, as if responding to her desperate call, the church transformed. An electric energy surged through the room, murmurs rippled among the congregation. Candle flames danced wildly as if caught in a breeze from another realm. Sarah felt warmth envelop her, a divine caress that held promise and reassurance. And then it happened. Voices hushed in reverent awe as an angelic presence manifested, a figure of light that radiated warmth, flooding the sacred space. Miracles are woven in faith, it seemed to whisper. A collective gasp arose as the villagers bore witness to changes, lives unfolding in ways they had never imagined. Yet lingering uncertainty cast shadows over their hearts. Was this a true miracle? Or merely a sweet echo of their own desperate wishes? As doubt tussled with hope, whispers of Michael's inexplicable healing began to circulate, a theme of transformation blooming right before their eyes. Yet they were challenged to reconsider what salvation could look like. Could it be that divine deliverance would arrive not as they envisioned, but wrapped in trials that awakened their deepest beliefs? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they sat, hope swelled in the gathered crowd, their breaths suspended in shared anticipation. Would they come to terms with the reality of divine interventions? A heightened sense of need pressed upon them, as they collectively questioned what faith meant for their village. The scent of incense intertwined with resolve hung in the air, leaving them on the precipice of a radiant revelation. As Michael's condition began to shift, the village stood united, grappling with the latent power of their prayers. In that moment, every soul in the hall sensed it, something extraordinary was just beginning. As the days unfolded like petals in spring, an air of expectancy thickened sweetly around the village. Michael's health seemed to be experiencing a mysterious turnaround. To say it was miraculous felt inadequate, those who witnessed it knew they were enveloped in something far greater. The shift in his condition hung in the atmosphere, like a gentle breeze stirring the still water of their collective faith. Underneath the bustling hum of daily life, the church remained their sanctuary. Many slipped inside for quiet moments, light illuminating darkened corners, hearts whispered prayers into the night. The pastor's words echoed in Sarah's mind, a divine surprise is on the horizon. It felt true, as if heaven itself leaned down to listen. One evening, during a prayer gathering, a palpable charge coursed through the crowd. They could feel it, a warm glow wrapped them like a comforting embrace. Cautious optimism danced on faces etched with worry. Sarah, at the center of the attention, led the group with newfound courage. Her heart, once heavy with doubt, glimmered with an unmistakable promise. "In faith, we will see," she exclaimed, her voice quivering with emotion. "Let us pray not just for Michael, for ourselves. For our village and our souls." The people rallied behind her, the atmosphere thickening with a resolve that poured forth in heartfelt cries for restoration and resilience. As Sarah knelt to pray, a ripple of silence descended. And then, someone shouted a name. "Michael!" The room jolted to attention as the young boy, frail and pale just days before, now stood at the entrance. He was bathed in soft moonlight, a sight that ignited shouts of joyful exclamations and tears of relief. The once weak boy reflected an inner strength, vitality alive in his gaze. "Mama!" He rushed into Sarah's arms, the warmth of his being igniting her hopes like kindling. The feeling was surreal. She had prepared herself for disappointment, yet here was the very embodiment of her prayers. Villagers wrapped in amazement fell to their knees around them, hearts swelling with joy, but as the commotion settled, uncertainty beckoned once more. Had their prayers truly touched heaven? Or was there something more profound in this moment? The understanding of miraculous intervention began to unfurl itself, revealing truths about faith and trials. Perhaps, real deliverance may often come wrapped in life's complexities. The village buzzed with excitement. Some claimed to have seen angels, others felt inexplicable peace flooding their hearts like a cascading waterfall. Perhaps, one old man whispered, "This is just the beginning of our own awakening." His voice resonated, prompting contemplative nods from the assembly. With Michael's healing taking center stage, they plunged deeper into the mystery that surrounded them. How much greater was God's plan than their own dreams? The message was clear: trust would be their compass, directing them through the winding paths of uncharted faith. As dawn broke, golden rays painted the sky, hope emanating from the hearts of the villagers. They stood on the brink of something precious, a collective yearning not just for miracles, but for understanding. Questions flourished, petals of faith unfurling in the light of a new day. Would they embrace the deeper layers of divine revelation? Would they dare to transform their community, embracing everything that lay ahead? In the silence that followed, whispers flitted through the air. What awaits us next? The answer lingered like a fragrance, tantalizingly out of reach yet undeniably present. And so, with hearts wide open, they prepared for more astonishing truths that God may reveal. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows of hope across the village. The afterglow of Michael's miraculous return still flickered in everyone's hearts. Joy permeated the air, mingling with an undercurrent of wonder. The villagers, gathering at the church, were still soaking in the realization that prayer could change the very fabric of their lives. As they gathered, anticipation crackled like static electricity. Sarah stood at the forefront again, her spirit buoyed by the overflowing gratitude that painted every face she saw. "We've experienced a miracle," she declared, her voice steady and full of warmth. "But let us not forget the power that brought this about, our faith." The congregation murmured in agreement. Some nodded, while others clasped hands, their fingers intertwined as if forming an unbreakable bond of spiritual unity. This was not merely about Michael anymore, this was about them, their journey as a community. Yet, as day drifted slowly toward dusk, a figure shuffled in from the edges of the gathering. It was Clara, an elderly woman known for her deep faith and wisdom, but lately, she had been harboring shadows of despair. Her frail frame seemed even more fragile against the hope radiating from the crowd. Sarah felt a tug at her heart. "Clara," Sarah called gently, beckoning her forward. The murmurs died down, all eyes falling upon the elder. "What's on your heart, dear sister?" Clara's voice trembled as she began, "I am grateful for Michael's healing. Truly, it is a gift from above. But I have struggled. I have prayers that feel unheard, hopes that feel distant. How do we reconcile our fears with the joy we are experiencing?" An honest silence fell, thick with the struggle that many felt but few voiced. Uncertain glances flickered. She was right, joy and sorrow often walked hand in hand, dancing between the light of miracles and the shadows of doubt. Sarah stepped forward again, saying, "Clara, you remind us that faith is not just climbing the mountaintop. Sometimes, it's about standing firm in the valley." The crowd resonated with this truth, murmuring soft amens as they absorbed her words. "Every prayer is heard," Sarah continued, "even when it feels as though the answers remain hidden. God understands our hearts far beyond what we can express. Our struggles can birth a deeper connection with Him, revealing layers of faith we never knew existed." A wave of energy flowed through the gathering as hope flickered to life once more. Clara's shoulders softened as she absorbed the comfort in Sarah's words. In that moment, a child's laughter broke through their reflections just outside the church. The playful spirit of innocence reminded everyone why they were drawn together, a community, rich with life and the promise of future miracles. As dusk began to veil the village, a new revelation stirred among them. A soft voice whispered through Sarah's heart, urging her to share this moment. "Let us lift up our hidden fears today," she implored. "Let us offer them alongside our gratitude." One by one, villagers began to speak, unveiling hopes and sadness alike into the sacred space. They prayed not only for healing but for comfort, courage amidst uncertainty. As night draped the village in a blanket of stars, their voices harmonized, weaving a tapestry of trust and vulnerability. Each prayer was a thread reflecting their profound desire for understanding, for deepening their faith amid life's mysteries, and in the stillness that followed, a gentle wind passed over them, almost whispering, "What other gifts await on the horizon?" The question lingered like a melody, stirring hearts and igniting yearning. With eager eyes shining in the moonlight, the villagers realized they stood on the threshold of something greater, an unfolding revelation that promised to shape their lives. So they closed another chapter, opening themselves to the divine surprise yet to come. The cool night air enveloped the village as the congregation lingered in prayer, some still clutching their neighbors' hands, a tapestry of hope woven tight. Sarah could feel the collective heartbeat of faith pulsating, vibrant and alive. The space felt sacred, charged with anticipation, like a chamber ready to receive a great gift. As the stars began to twinkle overhead, a peculiar change swept through the gathering. The wind, which moments ago carried their whispers skyward, seemed now to dance with a purpose. It rustled the leaves of the nearby trees, almost like a divine messenger delivering secrets from afar. A sense of wonder washed over them, and Clara, now steadied by Sarah's words, lifted her gaze skyward, her heart weighed by the unspoken prayers for her loved ones. "Can you feel it?" Sarah began, her voice rising above the rustling leaves. "There is an energy here, an invitation from God to yield ourselves more fully to Him." The villagers nodded, a murmur of agreement rippling through them. Eyes sparkled as hearts instinctively leaned in. It was as if the air itself yearned to share a revelation, a divine surprise waiting just beyond the horizon. "Faith," Sarah continued, "is often like a seed buried deep in the ground. We cannot see its growth until it bursts forth in bloom." Each word resonated, nourishing their souls. But right now, we are called to dig deeper. We are invited to believe beyond what our eyes can see. As if responding to her charge, the winds shifted subtly. A nearby lantern flickered, casting shadows that danced along the walls of the church. The atmosphere thickened, tinged with anticipation. Clara turned to Sarah and, despite the tremor in her voice, exclaimed, "Then let us not hold back our prayers. Let us dig into those hidden corners of our hearts." Slowly, others joined in, their voices lifting in a symphony of honesty. Vulnerable confessions flowed from places they had kept hidden, resonating like a sweet offering to the Lord. One man, his eyes glistening with tears, stood and spoke. "I've carried the weight of doubt, believing that God has forgotten me." He paused, and silence wrapped around him. "But I choose to lay that burden down tonight. I seek His light again." The congregation erupted in affirmations. They stood, one with the other, like a mighty fortress of faith. With every shared prayer, a heavier weight lifted, replaced by a warmth that wrapped around them like a familiar embrace. Clara's whispered prayers wove together with the others, creating a vibrant tapestry before the throne. Bring forth healing, she prayed, unveil hope and let love run free. Then suddenly, the calm of the night shattered when a sudden light burst forth from the church's attic window, spilling brightly onto the ground below. Gasps echoed as they turned their faces toward the unusual glow. "What is that?" a villager exclaimed, eyes wide with wonder, unable to look away. The light seemed inviting, a beacon interrupting their gathering, offering more than they had dared to ask. Sarah's heart raced with an unexplainable excitement. Could this be the divine surprise we've longed for? She questioned, barely above a whisper. And deep inside her, a merry sense of laughter resonated. She felt they were being beckoned to something far beyond their comprehension. As they gathered beneath the curious glow, hands clasped in unity, another voice broke through the mingled prayers. What if this light is God's message to us? What if it is a sign of hope? Their hearts swelled with the possibility, a delicate mixture of trepidation and exhilaration coursing through them. They were standing on the precipice of revelation, all wondering what awaited them in the coming moments. The light pulsed gently, almost as if it had a heartbeat of its own, challenging each soul present with a question. What do you seek tonight? And how will your faith lead you into the unexpected future? Should they approach? Should they remain, basking in the light but fearful of what it meant? One thing was clear, they were at the brink of something extraordinary. The very next question loomed heavy on their hearts, ringing loudly through the sacred night. What message lay within the light, just waiting for them to embrace? With hearts pounding, the villagers stood beneath the radiant glow. The light seemed to reach into their very souls, awakening something deep within. Whispers floated like petals in the wind, each voice filled with anticipation and wonder. It was clear a sacred moment was unfolding before them. Sarah felt the warmth of God's presence envelop them all. Let us not be afraid, she urged, her voice steady but filled with awe. We stand united. Whatever message awaits, let us welcome it with open hearts. Clara was the first to step forward, her feet moving almost as if guided by a force beyond her. I am willing, she declared boldly. Whatever this is, I want to understand it. Others began to follow, a slow procession toward the shimmering light, curiosity mixing with the sweet scent of faith. As they approached, the light pulsed brighter, illuminating the tired faces of those once burdened with doubt. It was as if the light sought to refresh their spirits, to remind them of the joy that faith can bring. Suddenly, a gentle breeze swept through the gathering, whispering soft words unheard by human ears. The air thickened with expectation. A divine revelation was drawing near. The villagers felt a stirring in their hearts, a foreshadowing of the messages destined to unfurl. Have faith, Sarah said, gripping Clara's hand tight. We can do this together. Just then, the light shifted subtly. 3 distinct beams of color radiated outward, each one shimmering with a promise. The first beam glowed a warm gold, the second a serene blue, and the third, a fiery red. Each hue communicated something profound. As the golden light enveloped Clara, she felt a rush of assurance. This speaks of God's love, she exclaimed. A reminder that no matter our fears, His love heals and brings us home. A gentle nod of agreement rippled through the congregation, hearts swelling with acceptance. Next came the calming blue light, washing over a young mother cradling her child. Peace, she breathed, tears flowing freely down her cheeks. This is peace, the peace that surpasses all understanding. As she whispered her truth, others began to feel that same calm washing over them, details of their worries fading like the mist at dawn. Finally, as the red light flickered to life, a fervent spirit ignited within David, an elderly man who had wrestled with despair for many years. Courage! He shouted, his voice breaking through the whispers of night. This is God calling us to rise up, to take bold steps in faith even when the path is unclear. That fiery passion ignited a spark among the villagers, a fiery resolve to embrace whatever God had in store for them. The light pulsed, its warmth wrapping around them like a loving embrace. Together, they closed their eyes, letting the divine whispers sink in deep. Each heart was a freshly tilled soil, ready to receive the seeds of love, peace, and courage. They found themselves aligned, standing on the threshold of something greater, but as the light began to dim slowly, a question lingered in the air, heavy with expectation. What will our next steps be, and will we follow where faith leads? The villagers looked to one another, each reflecting the newfound courage, peace, and love that had been so freely given. They understood now that the divine surprise was not just in the illumination they had received, but in the journey that lay ahead. With their spirits lifted and hearts ignited, they knew they were destined for more than just an extraordinary moment. They were being called to extraordinary lives. But what awaited them on that path of faith? Would they be ready to embrace all that God asked of them? The time of decision loomed, and the next chapter of their journey was dawning. As the last rays of the glorious light faded into the evening sky, a hush fell over the villagers. They sensed the air thick with possibility, as if everything around them hummed with anticipation. Each heart beat in rhythm, synchronized with the pulse of something sacred lurking just beyond their understanding. Sarah gently opened her eyes, scanning the faces around her. Excitement flickered in the eyes of those she loved. "What do you feel?" she asked, curiosity lighting her voice. The question hung in the air, begging for responses that could shape their next steps. A tender breeze swept across the gathered crowd, stirring hair and garments in a simple dance, perhaps a reminder of the Spirit's presence. Clara, feeling emboldened by the golden light that had embraced her moments earlier, spoke up. "I feel as if our fears can be washed away, like the dust after rain. Love is the answer." Her words ignited murmurs of agreement, an echoing harmony of hope rising with each repetition. One by one, villagers offered their reflections. The young mother, her cradled child close, smiled through her tears. "I feel peace, a peace that speaks louder than the chaos of the world." David, still burning with the red light of courageous resolve, nodded passionately. "And I feel the call to action. What good is love and peace if we do not share it? Friends, we must let this moment propel us into our lives." Their spirits ignited, a sense of urgency and togetherness enveloped them all. They were no longer just individuals but a collective, a body of believers called to something greater. An understanding dawned. Love and peace were not mere gifts to receive but treasures to be shared. The words hung heavy in the evening air as they contemplated how they could carry these revelations into their daily lives. As if in answer to their thoughts, the warm glow of the fading light flickered once more, casting golden sparkles across their faces. Suddenly, the ground beneath them felt alive, the very earth seemed to beckon them forward. "There are 3 paths," Sarah whispered, glancing at the shimmering trail of color that lingered in the aftermath of their transcendent experience. "What if each color represents a way?" Clara mused, her mind racing with possibilities. "The light of love, the shade of peace, and the flame of courage could guide us." David stepped forward, filling the space with purpose. "Let us choose intentionally. If we are holding these messages close, we must seek how to express them through acts of love, through creating peace in our homes and communities, and through carrying courage into our challenges. God has gifted us these messages." Excitement burgeoned as villagers pondered how they would act. Some began to discuss outreach, planning ways to serve the hungry. Others talked of bringing stillness to their homes, practicing the peace they had experienced. But underlying excitement was an undertone of fear. Their hearts fluttered. What if they misunderstood God's calling? What if their journeys led them to hardships instead of triumphs? They felt the weight of such questions, yet believed in the strength of their newfound unity. When God calls, He equips. Sarah reminded them, her voice steadying the gathering. As they stood together, hearts ablaze and spirits wider than the starry heavens, the lingering question bubbled anew. What happens next? The villagers knew they were on the cusp of something extraordinary, yet uncertainty lingered like shadows in the twilight. Each individual felt drawn to that shimmering light, eager for clarity yet apprehensive about the implications of embracing it fully. What would faith reveal as they embarked on their paths? What unexpected trials and miraculous moments would await them? With those questions nestled in their hearts, they felt ready to take the first steps into the unknown. The fire of divine adventure awaited, pulsing just beyond the horizon. And together, they would find a way to embrace it. With hearts beating in unison, the villagers stood at the edge of their old understandings, poised to leap into the unknown. The paths before them glimmered in the fading light, whispering of the love, peace, and courage that awaited their embrace. Sarah felt the stirrings of excitement within her, sensing that this was only the beginning of something beautiful. "Let us choose a path together," she urged, her voice steady yet gentle, inviting all to share in this sacred step. The night air grew cooler as the horizon surrendered its golden hues to the deepening blue of twilight. A sense of adventure mixed with trepidation washed over the villagers. Clara, feeling bold, suggested, "Why don't we decide on one message to embody tonight? One act we can do together before the sun completely sets." A chorus of affirmations rose, hearts eager to commit to a shared goal. The villagers exchanged glances, their eyes sparkling with purpose, the remnants of their earlier auras intertwining like the hues of a blended sunset. "Love," David declared, his voice rising above the murmurs. "Let us be love in action. We can visit the elderly by the river and share stories, warmth, and encouragement." A burst of enthusiasm ignited. The old stories invoked laughter and tears alike, tying the community together with threads of shared history. One by one, others offered ideas, helping those in need in their own homes, creating circles of prayer, or singing songs that celebrated the Spirit working in them. Each thought glimmered like stars, lighting the path before them. Yet in that moment of zeal, small waves of doubt lapped at the shore of their faith. "What if we fail?" echoed a trembling voice from the back of the group. The silence that followed felt thick, uneasy, as if the very ground held its breath. Sarah, sensing the weight of the question, stepped forward. "Remember, friends, the greatest acts come not from the certainty of success but from the intention to serve. If we seek to share what we've felt, then we have done enough. God will take care of the rest." Her words were like a spring of fresh water quenching their fear, stirring their spirits once more. They gathered their courage and began moving as one, a living testament to their chosen message of love. Walking toward the river, they sang softly, their voices a gentle wave, a prayer released into the evening air. With each step, they opened their hearts, letting the warmth of their purpose guide them. Clara reached out, holding Sarah's hand, and with each pulse of unity, the tension melted, giving way to trust. As the first stars began to twinkle against the velvety sky, something unseen tingled in the air. It felt as if time was pausing, holding its breath with them. The river shimmered like a silken ribbon, and they felt the vibrations of the depth beneath and ahead. Glimmers of hope danced on the water's surface. Upon reaching the riverbank, they found the elderly couple who often sat by the water in solitude. The couple looked up, weary yet welcoming, and the villagers smiled brightly, their hearts brimming with love. In that moment, they knew they would share warmth, compassion, and the simplest gift, a reminder that they were not alone. What gifts would unfold through their shared moments? Would unexpected miracles rise like the dawn, altering the very fabric of their reality? As laughter and stories bloomed in the cool night air, the villagers felt a shift. Together, they would discover how love serves as a bridge, leading them to uncharted territories of grace. Then came a spark, a flicker of energy that broke through the gathering dusk, a light that shone with promise, whispering the next mystery that awaited them. What was it saying? What divine surprise would soon be revealed? The night deepened, and the trees stood as silent witnesses to the whispers of the evening. The villagers felt the warmth spread between them as they gathered closer to the elderly couple. Laughter floated gently amidst the exchange of stories, binding them tighter as they shared fragments of their lives. Sarah watched the couple, their smiles flickering like fireflies, and she felt her heart swell with joy. "Remember how we used to dance by the river?" The woman's voice quivered, holding on to the threads of time. Those were the days. The villagers leaned in, captivated. Inspired by the moment, Clara chimed in, "Let us create that joy anew. How about a little dance?" An unexpected energy sparked. The villagers laughed and clapped, encouraged by Clara's enthusiasm. Together, they formed a small circle, hands clasped, laughter bursting forth like the night sky covered in stars. They took a few hesitant steps, their movements awkward yet joyful, and within moments, a sacred rhythm took shape. As they danced together, something incredible happened. The air seemed to hum, charged with an unseen presence. Each twirl and laugh echoing against the cool night was filled with a divine warmth that wrapped around them like a cozy blanket. Sarah looked into the eyes of the elderly couple, their faces lit by an inner glow that illuminated something deeper. Then, unexpectedly, the old man began to sing softly, his voice strong and sure. When love calls us forth, there's nothing we can't overcome. His words flowed gracefully, inviting the villagers into the depths of his soul. They listened, spellbound, as his melody mingled with the soft lapping of the river. Tears glistened in the eyes of some villagers while others swayed gently, moved by the unfolding moment. It was more than just a song, it was a communion of hearts, a stitching together of souls through the simple act of love and remembrance. In that sacred dance, doubts melted away. This is what it means to be alive. David shouted, a rough tune of laughter erupting within him. There they were, strangers mere moments ago, but now joined as one heart, listening to a song that echoed through their very beings. As the song reached its peak, a flash of light flickered in their midst. Every head turned toward the glimmer, wide eyes blinking in wonder. It felt as if the night had opened its arms wide, welcoming them into something extraordinary. The very atmosphere hummed with divine promise, as if heaven gave a nod to their gathering. Sarah felt her heart quicken, overwhelmed by the sensation coursing through her veins. "Do you see that?" she whispered, pointing toward the shimmering light. The elderly couple exchanged a knowing glance, their smiles widened. "Yes," the woman replied, her voice soft but laden with hope. "That is the presence of love made manifest. It has come to remind us of the power within our community." A wave of joy surged, hands grasped hands. They began to chant softly, "We are love, we are unity," each repetition igniting the atmosphere, sending ripples of energy through every soul present. As they chanted, Sarah caught a glimpse of movement just beyond the river's edge, silhouettes glowing in the dark. Were they lost souls, seeking warmth and light? Or perhaps they were angels, drawing nearer to share in their sacred dance. The village grew quiet, breaths held in collective anticipation. "What is unfolding, Lord?" Sarah wondered, her heart racing with curiosity. In that moment, hidden truths and divine surprises loomed ever closer, their revelation just beyond reach. What message would the night impart, and how would it transform their lives forever? The villagers stood poised, hearts intertwined, ready to embrace the miraculous unfolding of God's love. What awaited them on this sacred journey? The night held its breath, cradling the tension of anticipation. The silhouettes along the river's edge grew closer, glowing softly like candles flickering in the dark. Sarah felt a pull from deep within her being. It was as if the night sky had parted just for her, opening the doorway to something transcendent. The villagers stood frozen, spellbound. The elderly couple, still clasped in hands, began to sway gently, their presence grounding the moment. The old man's voice, now barely a whisper, carried a weight of sacred wisdom. "Transformation often begins with a single step into the unknown," he said, his eyes glimmering with age-old truths. Sarah's heart raced as the glowing figures emerged. They were neither lost souls nor mere shadows, but radiant beings whose light shimmered like morning dew kissing fresh petals at dawn. One stepped forward, the brightness enveloped him, radiating warmth and reassurance. The villagers felt a deep wave of peace wash over them, dispelling the fears that had lingered in their hearts. "Fear not," the glowing figure spoke, his voice resonant yet gentle. "You have called forth a celebration of love, and love is a force that transforms the very fabric of existence." There was a profound calmness that swept over the gathering, each villager feeling a deep connection with one another and the divine. "What does this mean for us?" Clara asked, her voice trembling with emotion. The figure smiled, his eyes glistening like stars set against a velvet sky. "You are the bearers of love, and with this dance, you rekindle the light that transformed your village. 3 messages shall be unveiled tonight, each one a gift to guide you deeper into divine purpose." With a wave of his hand, soft light twisted and danced, forming shimmering symbols in the air, each one more vibrant than the last. The first symbol glowed fiercely, resembling a heart. "The first message is love," the figure began. "This love is not just between you but for the world. Share it freely, it is your greatest gift. It has the power to mend, to heal, to unite beyond borders." The villagers exchanged glances, their expressions brightening. They began to understand their moments of sharing, laughter, and remembrance were seeds planted in the soil of love, ready to blossom. The second symbol emerged, this one a shimmering tree with branches reaching for the stars. "The second message is growth," he continued. "Embrace change, for it is in the stretch of your heart that true growth occurs. Nurture your dreams, and watch as they flourish in love's embrace." Tears of wonder and realization began to stream down faces. They felt urges to reach out, to nurture one another, to tend to the dreams that had been set aside in the busyness of life. Finally, the third symbol appeared, a radiant light illuminating the sky. "And the third message is hope," the figure said. "In every moment, hold tight to hope, for it brings forth new beginnings. Trust that your steps toward unity will lead you to miracles. Never lose sight of the light within." As these messages settled in, a collective shiver of recognition coursed through the villagers. It was as if their individual paths had converged into one divine destiny. Can we truly embody all of this? David pondered aloud, a mix of excitement and uncertainty swirling within. "Your hearts are already aligned," the figure responded softly. "Now is the time to walk in the truth of love, growth, and hope." With those words, the shimmering figures began to fade, their task complete. The villagers stood together, arms circled close. They felt the pulse of divine promise thrum through them like the rhythm of their dance. "What do we do next?" Clara asked eagerly. "Remember tonight. Reflect on the messages, and let them guide you forth. For the journey is just beginning." The air shimmered as the last echoes of light faded into the embrace of the night, leaving the villagers with hearts ignited and spirits soaring. What more would be revealed to them as they walked this newfound path? As the sun rose over the village, its golden light spilled into the hearts of the people, illuminating every nook. The atmosphere thrummed with an energy that felt almost tangible, as if the echoes of the previous night's revelations rippled through the very ground beneath their feet. Sarah stood at the church doorway, gazing into the horizon, her heart swelling with anticipation. The three divine messages, love, growth, and hope, lingered in her soul, transforming everything she had ever understood about faith. Gathering together, the villagers shared quiet moments, their eyes reflective, hearts bonded. Clara, now brimming with confidence, spoke up first. "We've been given a calling. Let us embrace these messages and see how they can change not only our lives but also the lives of others." A wave of agreement rippled across the crowd, smiles blooming everywhere like flowers kissed by morning dew. David, standing tall, nodded fervently. "We are ready. We have witnessed miracles together. It's time to step out and let our actions speak." His voice was bold, a rallying cry that stirred something deep within every listener. In that moment, Sarah felt something shift, a persistent whisper in her heart. It was a knowing, a gentle urging to take a step further. "Friends, we must share these gifts beyond our village. Let our love expand, crossing barriers and reaching those in need." The crowd buzzed with excitement and a flurry of ideas sparked. They began discussing plans, reaching out to neighboring communities and offering their healing touch. Laughter traded with enthusiasm as villagers brainstormed outreach initiatives, food drives, shared prayers, and gatherings that would allow love to flow like an unstoppable river. Clara suggested, "What if we hold an open gathering at the riverside, inviting everyone to join us to share their own stories?" The idea met with cheers, each person envisioning a wide circle of kinship, all hearts united in shared vulnerability and love. As the sun climbed higher, the energy among them peaked. They organized themselves quickly, splitting into groups to prepare for their first divine act. Sarah led one contingent to gather provisions, while others ran to spread the word. As they moved, there was an unshakable conviction in their steps. Joy radiated, it was infectious, contagious like wildfire. when the day of their gathering at the river arrived, the villagers were filled with a palpable excitement. Banners were strung between trees, and tables laden with fresh bread and fruits lined the riverbank. The air brimmed with aroma and laughter, echoing with the promise of something divine. As people from neighboring areas arrived, they felt an unseen force drawing them in. The village was a beacon of warmth and kindness, a tangible manifestation of the messages they had received. Hearts opened as new faces intermingled with familiar ones, weaving a tapestry of community as stories flowed freely like the river beside them. When it was time for Sarah to speak, she stood before the gathering with a heart full of gratitude. Friends, this is love in action. Last night, we learned how love connects us all. It binds us across rivers and walls, healing wounds we didn't even know we had. The crowd swayed with her words, nodding in unity, tears glistened in many eyes, reflecting their shared emotions. Let us continue to grow, stretching our hearts and minds. Every moment is an opportunity to nurture each other and rise together, she encouraged. And most importantly, let us hold tight to hope. Our collective journey has just begun, and there are miracles waiting to unfold. As she spoke, the elderly couple from last night's gathering joined her, their presence grounding the moment. Your expressions of love are palpable. The old man chimed in. This day is a testament to the power of faith lived out loud. Together, we are weaving a new legacy, one of joy and unity. With each story shared and each heart opened, the riverbank transformed into sacred ground, a sanctuary of love, laughter, and connection. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting golden hues over all, a profound understanding settled within them. They were not just a village any longer, they were a family, an ever-expanding embodiment of faith and miraculous transformation. The atmosphere changed, growing warm with the feeling of divine presence. What can await us next? Someone wondered aloud. And while the exact answer remained a sweet mystery, every heart present understood this: whatever journey lay ahead, they would face it together, hand in hand, fueled by the light of love, growth, and hope. As twilight descended, the villagers knew they were forever changed. A divine conclusion resonated within each one: they had not only witnessed a miracle, they had become one. And with renewed spirits, they looked towards the horizon, ready to embrace the future with open hearts. Now is the time for you to connect. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive faith stories that will lift your spirit. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm with the joy of your support. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this inspiring ending. Your voice matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this powerful manifestation of faith. You need to show your support today, because true servants of God never hold back when it comes to spreading love. Don't wait even one more second, act now.